I lost my memory after I was rescued from the bottom of a cliff. I don't remember anything, but 3 months later, a handsome man in a suit found me. He said, "How much longer are you going to make a scene? Is it fun to hide here?" He said he was my husband. Husband, right? Now that you're here, go ahead and get a divorce. Nathan stood at the foot of the short house and looked at me with indifference. I was wearing a quilted jacket and was in the middle of breaking the corners. He threw the account book, ID card, and all the graduation certificates at me. I just lost my memory, but not stupid. Although I don't remember the person in front of me, but I still believe the documents he took. Husband, right? Did you call the police after I disappeared? Why did it take 3 months to find this place? Nathan took off his glasses and pinched the bridge of his nose impatiently. Sagan, I have a meeting this afternoon. I don't have time to mess around with you. I inclined my head and sized up the man in front of me. He was elegant and handsome with sword brows and starry eyes, but he had a bad temper and no patience with me. I was sure that this man didn't have any love for me. I couldn't understand at all why I would marry someone who didn't love me, but there was no need to understand. By the looks of it, my past may have been very painful, so painful that I would marry someone who didn't love me. So, this memory loss is a chance from God to give me a new life. But before I start my new life, I have to say goodbye to my past too. Since he said he was my husband, I was willing to go with him. At least to see what I was probably like once. Wait for me. After receiving my affirmative reply, the impatience in his eyes became even more obvious, mixed with a little bit of anticipation. It was as if his expression was saying, "See, I knew it was like this." I walked up to the short house and looked at the 18 or 19-year-old boy in the parsonage who had an ordinary face and eyes that always seemed to be a step behind. Forrest. I'm going back. Forrest was a good kid. And he was the first thing I saw after I woke up. He stammered a little. Rather, he said the first word and needed some reaction time to say the next. He froze slightly before raising a smile. Good. He stood up, turning around a little bit shyly, accidentally knocking on the old wooden red table with just a slight frown. He brought out a basket of dates from the kitchen and gently handed it to me. This. Keep it. Eat it on the way. I took it and smiled, my hand unconsciously clenching the handle. Thanks. He followed me silently, his footsteps barely audible. His eyes remained on the dark glass until I got into the car. Nathan was sitting in the driver's seat, ready to go, when he suddenly turned around and stared at me with cold eyes. I held out my hand toward him. Give me some money. Nathan looked on the verge of anger, probably because of the presence of outsiders. But he still took out his wallet, took out all the red bills inside. Looking at the thickness, it is estimated that there are also 1 or 2 10,000. He violently pushed open the car door, shoved the money into Forrest's arms, and turned around to get into the car. But the car was slow to start, and the face he was looking at me with was getting more and more somber. I'm your driver? I suddenly wanted to laugh a little. I didn't think that a man who looked so mature would have such a childish side. But I didn't move. The thought of sitting next to him for the rest of the journey was a bit overwhelming. It was the reaction of this body. He blushed, but could only turn his head to look at the car. Green mountains, golden wheat fields, and all kinds of birds of prey that I can't say the name of, gliding past the car windows. What a pretty view. As pretty as Forrest's paintings. Only, these things, soon, were not mine. I looked at the back in front of me. I couldn't even see his expression clearly, but I could still feel some coldness. I was a little curious. Why was I with him? With a cold person? How did we get together? I asked him, and the corners of his mouth curved up in the most sarcastic sort of way. Are you sure you want to joke with me? My eyes were unusually determined. After 10 seconds of cold silence, his faint reply reached my ears. You gave me a watch in college and said you liked me. The understatement was a little emotionless, and it was as if a different scene appeared in front of my eyes. The warm spring sunlight was spreading on the ground, and the cherry blossoms were reflecting this sweet splendor. The girl's white cheeks, stained with a few colorful clouds, gathered the courage to tilt her head. After a coy smile, she suddenly lowered her eyes. I like you. Can you be my boyfriend? The girl's sincerity and purity fell into the boy's eyes. A moment of surprise and then returned to silence. He is still light tone, but less cold. Maybe in the hearts of young people, that is a romantic and overflowing with pink memories. But now I look at it again. How to think? I seem to be just a simp. I don't know if what I thought just now is true, but in any case, from his tone of voice, I saw myself as a simp. Anyway, I couldn't feel any love from him for me. Now, I'm starting to be thankful. Thankfully, I couldn't think of ever. Of my humble self. The man was silent, and I looked out the window in silence. After a long time, when the emerald green and flowers in front of me turned into traffic, his car stopped in front of a mansion that looked somewhat familiar. In the garden in front of the door, soft and pure white roses were planted. A few gusts of wind passed. They were still trembling. What a beautiful flower. It is rare to have such bones. I can see that their owners must have taken good care of them. Inside mansion. I can't search my memory for information about it, but I entered the door and found light blue slippers from the shoe cabinet, and muscle memory guided me to put my jacket on the shelf next to it. Yes, what a familiar place. But when I stepped in, I didn't feel the slightest bit of warmth. A coldness that wrapped around me like an ice cellar. But I couldn't tell why. I sat on the sofa and watched him busily enter the room. Then he took out a sheet and threw it in front of me, turning his back to me as he spoke, not knowing for a moment if he was talking to me or the air. If you're really sick with something, go to the hospital. The doctor has an appointment for you. On the list. Indeed, was the doctor's phone number and the appointment time. After saying that, he looked down at his watch and frowned slightly. I'm very busy today. Don't call me if anything happens. How I see. Not like something a husband would say. Even a stranger would probably be polite. I smiled at him and stood up. I'm sorry. I know you're busy and am probably holding you up. But this is important to me. He stopped in his tracks and frowned tightly. What is it? Get a divorce. For some reason there was a dull ache in my heart when I said that. It was fleeting, but I was tortured for that second. Good thing it was only a second. Good thing that I could distinguish the feeling, not sadness or grief, but resignation. All in all, it seemed like I didn't have any extra fondness for him, or even a little bit. A cold smile hung at the corners of his mouth after his momentary freeze, and he leaned casually against a nearby shoebox with a sneer on his face. Are you sure you won't regret it after you get your memories back? In his eyes, I had a momentary illusion. It was as if I hadn't lost my memory. And I was just a dramatic little woman looking forward to finding my cold husband's heart in all sorts of original ways. But I wasn't. I smiled a penetrating smile. Regret or not, it seems to have nothing to do with you. His smile grew colder and colder, and he just threw down a sentence. Whatever you want. And left the house. I looked at the empty mansion. All kinds of familiar, but cannot find the memory of things. Surprisingly have a feeling of relief. I hope the future is like white roses. No need to be gorgeous. Live your own life. I found an old cell phone in my room. So I took my ID card to get a replacement phone card. Getting the card. I fished out a slip of paper from my pocket. It was the number Forrest had given me when I was leaving. When I dialed it, his tone was calm, but I could still hear that he was happy. Sister, it's good to find yourself. He has mild autism and likes to shut himself away in his own world. I want him to stay immersed in his own world of ease and comfort and not be influenced by other dross. So there's about me. I won't say a word. I just logged on to Messenger, and my cell phone dinged. Looking at the contacts with red dots. My brain was a bit unresponsive. After reading the messages, most of them were asking where I had been. Actually, vaguely through the feeling. I can guess what kind of relationship they are with me, but I don't know how to reply to their messages. I know I fell off a cliff. But why? Do I value my life that little? I didn't think so. After calling my mom and dad to tell them I was okay, not that I wanted to retrieve my lost memories so much. I just wanted to find out why I fell off the cliff in the first place. I went to the hospital. After explaining the situation to the doctor, he recommended me to have a CT scan of my brain. Just outside, a familiar face suddenly appeared in front of me. A pretty girl with a ponytail, looking clean and sharp. She looked at me with a face full of surprise, tugged on my hand, looked at me a few more times, and finally, she let out a long sigh of relief. Songin, thank goodness. It's good that you're okay. Seeing my puzzled look, she wiped her tears and hurriedly took out her cell phone, placing a photo on the screen for me to see. In the photo, she and I were right next to each other. The two of us were holding oversized cones in our hands, and before the ice cream at the corner of our mouths was wiped off, we were smiling recklessly at the camera. It was the kind of smile that doesn't look fake. It looked like I was really having fun at that moment. The key thing was that the hands she held me tightly really made me feel warm. Anon. I'm your BFF. I hugged her tightly. I'm sorry. I lost my memory. I don't remember a lot of things. She patted my shoulder and smiled. It's okay. I'll accompany you to get back all the things you don't remember. She introduced herself. Her name is Emily, and she's Nathan's real sister. In college, we lived in the same dormitory, and it was through her that I met Nathan. As for later, it was nothing more than how much I liked her brother, letting her build bridges and finally fixing things up. Watching her frown, I couldn't help but interrupt. Okay. Chin meow. The doctor wants me to go for a CT. I have to go now. She snatched away my list and took my hand. You rest first. I'll go help you get in line. As I watched her busy, I suddenly felt motivated to retrieve my memories. Perhaps my past is not all about grief. There are also many things worth remembering, aren't there? After doing the examination, I put the report card in front of the doctor. He frowned as he glanced at it and came to a conclusion. There is bruising in the brain, squeezing the inner temporal lobe of the brain. The blood clots are not big. They can be slowly absorbed with medication. The doctor gave me a bunch of medicines. At the entrance of the hospital, Emily was still talking about her worries these days. At first, I thought you were having trouble with my brother again. But he said no. Then I searched all the places I could find to find you. Then I searched everywhere I could find you. And asked my boyfriend to keep looking for you. You don't know how worried I was. This morning I heard from my brother and realized that you fell off a cliff in the Appalachian Mountains. You usually don't like climbing mountains. Why did you go to Appalachian Mountains? I looked at her and frowned. Even she doesn't know why I went climbing? These days, there were no clues from my cell phone. Either. I said, I don't remember at all. She froze and looked at me too. That's so weird. Hey, race the deal. Do you remember where that cliff was? Of course I remembered. Forrest had always taken me there during the time I lost my memory, hoping to find some bits and pieces of it. But there was nothing. Emily took her boyfriend and me to the cliffs. Along the way, her boyfriend recorded the route very carefully. And when we were leaving, he solemnly told us, Don't worry, I've memorized all the surveillance places here, and I'll let you know as soon as I have any news. After we parted, I had just arrived at my doorstep when the news came, but it was bad news. Time had passed too quickly. 3 months had passed, and the surveillance had long since been automatically deleted. So there were no answers as to why exactly I had been there and how I had fallen. I pushed open the door and saw Nathan staring bashfully at me in the soft goose yellow light. I was a little surprised that he was actually home. After all, no matter how I looked at him since we met, I couldn't associate him with the man who comes home every night. Where have you been? His question froze me and I stared at him, smiling. Weren't you the one who told me to go to the hospital? His thin lips pursed gently and he changed the subject. I could understand chatting like that. After all, he sure didn't seem like he would really care about my whereabouts. I'm hungry. 3 simple words froze my mind as to what he meant. He was hungry. Was I keeping him from eating? My lack of action seemed to annoy him so much that his voice sunk much deeper, and he repeated it again. I said, I'm hungry. I looked at him with a raised eyebrow, and his eyelids narrowed slightly, as if he was sizing me up. And after a long time, he said in a cold voice, Don't you know how to cook? So that's what it means. I shrugged. I'm sorry. I don't really know how. He sneered and I raised my eyebrows. But you can order takeout. He seemed a little angry, the anger in his eyes fleeting. His back turned to me, looking at his laptop, tapping the keyboard at a staccato pace, as if he was voicing his dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction? Then there's nothing to do but suffer. I was just about to go back to my room when his voice suddenly rang out with an unmistakable flavor of command. Won't you get me a glass of water? I almost laughed, clear eyes laced with laughter. I looked back at him. Do you think I'm your nanny? I'm not obligated to serve him tea, even if he is my husband now. That's only a name. We're already married in name only, aren't we? Besides, it's time to go through the formalities soon. He heavily closed the computer, raised his eyes, a pair of cold eyes staring straight at me. What do you mean? We are not divorced. For now. I am still your husband. Husband? I showed a question mark face. So, you are my husband. I have to serve you tea and water? Yes. If we've actually registered our marriage. I'm your wife in name only. But not your mom. Want me to pour water? Fine. Even if a stranger asks me to pour a glass of water for him, I will agree. But this commanding tone and taken-for-granted attitude made me feel suffocated. I can pour water for someone because I like it because it's polite, but not because of an order. Could it be that I've been living with men like this in the past? His anger was unabated and his throat moved as if he had hard words to say. But it was good that he didn't say them in the end. But isn't that what you used to do? Maybe. I used to. But that was before. Turning around, I was going to go into my room when I caught a glimpse of a picture of a girl on the screen of his brightly lit cell phone. It was his screensaver. And the girl with delicate features and light makeup was smiling with youthful confidence. Right next to the girl. He put his arm around her shoulders, revealing an expression I've never seen before. It was free. It was cozy. In short, it wasn't the coldness like now. Now, I kind of understood. He didn't like me as a wife because someone else had already taken my place. Surprisingly, I didn't feel sad. The corner of my mouth curled into a mocking smile, and I pointed at his screen. Who is this? Junior? Looking at the ambiguous posture and smiling face. We can't say we're friends, right? If it is true that there is already a woman who is kept outside, then the divorce will be a relief for me and for him. My casual sentence. I didn't expect it to make him furious. He slammed the table and hurriedly turned his phone off, glaring at me. I advise you to speak properly. I laughed coldly and looked at his furious appearance, raising my eyebrows. What are you angry about? You are unfaithful to your marriage. The one who should be angry should be me, but am not angry at all. I don't even want to know about you and this woman. I should know it if I think about it. It's nothing more than the matter of the jerk slut. Such things are so disgusting to hear that it's better not to hear them at all. In his scarlet pair of eyes, I faintly said, 9 o'clock tomorrow. City Hall. Bring your ID. His fingers trembled slightly, and he squeezed out 4 words through gritted teeth. Don't you regret it? I smiled. As long as you distribute the property, I certainly don't regret it. Although I had no memory of how much of this belonged to me. I called my mom and dad in Messenger on the day I got my phone number replaced. Besides checking in, I learned a lot of things from them. My family wasn't poor, and I wasn't marrying Nathan backwards. I'd been gone for a long time and could still feel his grim sight. I fell asleep in my bedroom. It was a very restless sleep. I dreamed of many familiar scenes and of a teenager who looked like Nathan. But I was pretty sure that person wasn't Nathan, because that person had a warmth, a smile, and a feeling that made me sad and unsettled. How could this be Nathan? I was woken up by the phone ringing. A familiar voice came over the phone, mixed with a hint of panic and hurt. For the first time, Forrest spoke so fast. Sis, my mom is sick. I don't know what to do. What should I do? I instantly came to my senses and put on my clothes while calming him down. Don't be afraid. I'll be right over. Driving in the car, I arrived in front of the short-footed house, where all kinds of paints intermingled to form a beautiful painting. But today it looked bleak. The moment Forrest saw me, his eyes that were originally a pool of still water rippled. He looked at me somewhat helplessly. I'm sorry, sister. I don't know what to do. I don't want to trouble you. I gave him a comforting look. Don't worry. I'm coming. Pushing open the somewhat heavy wooden door. Dust flew in the air. I saw that the always thick and warm aunt was now sleeping on the bed. Eyes closed. Motionless. panting a little roughly. She was frowning tightly, and I could tell that she was in some pain. "What's wrong with Auntie?" Forrest pointed to her stomach, looking at the place. "It seems to be a stomach problem. You help Annie to my car." Forrest picked up Auntie in a crossbody and quickly brought her to the car. Forrest sat in the back and kept his eyes on Auntie, not letting up for a moment. Driving to the hospital. The doctor told us to get checked out. After Auntie went in, he sat in the doorway with his head hanging down, keeping a tight grip on my hand, and suddenly tilted his head up to look at me, his eyes full of hope. "Sister, will my mom be okay?" Looking into his pure eyes, I gently patted his shoulder. "No, I've been praying for Auntie." He lowered his head again, revealing a faint sadness. I was a little bit unable to bear it, but I didn't know how to comfort him. When I was leaving, the test results were not yet out, but Auntie was already much better after taking the medicine. Shaking my hand and saying thank you all the time. After settling Auntie, Forrest looked down at me, and when he smiled slightly, he had the feeling of a fresh breeze sweeping by and taking away the dust. He reached out his hand, as if to pull me in, and finally paused in midair. "Sister, thank you. I will thank you later." I smiled at him. No need. He was my savior. "So this is nothing." As I was leaving, I was about to start the car when the phone rang. "What? You regret it so soon?" Listening to his teasing voice, I glanced at the time on my cell phone. It was already 9:30. "I have something to do. I'm delayed. If it's not a bother, you can wait for me for a while." Before the second half of my sentence could be uttered, his sneer reached my ears, harsh and cool. "So, don't fool yourself. You can't afford to get a divorce. Why do you still want to bring it up?" "I can't?" In the past, I only thought he was cold and emotionless. Now I realize that all of his coldness and indifference is based on self-confidence. Right? I laughed coldly as he did. "If you think I can't let go, wait for me in front of City Hall now." I hung up and drove to City Hall. To my dismay, he wasn't at the door. Instead, I got a call from Emily. She was very surprised over there, and I could imagine her shocked expression through the phone. "And why did you divorce my brother?" I was silent for a while. There were no more feelings, so choosing to leave was good for him and for me. She was also silent. On the other side of the phone, her tone was warm and soft. "Inan, are you okay? I'm coming to get you." Half an hour later, we were sitting in the car. She held my hand and didn't say anything. I smiled at her. "I'm okay. I won't be upset if I don't like it anymore. But there's something I'd like to ask you for." Emily nodded. "Go ahead." After I fell off the cliff back then, I was saved by a family. That Forrest. You remember, right? I remember. Can you help me introduce him to an art teacher? He's very talented at drawing. I hope he can be quiet and be himself in his own world, sketching out his life with brushes and paints. Emily did not refuse to such a request. I started the car and followed her directions and parked under her house. She took out a strawberry-flavored lollipop from her bag, broke my hand and put it in my palm, coaxing. "Don't be angry. There are no more unhappiness. Eating sweet things are all happy. You lost your memory. It's not so bad that your habits have changed." I took it and looked at the tiny candy in my palm. But the scene in front of me suddenly changed. a teenager in a white shirt, bathed in sunlight, holding a bouquet of flowers made of candy, tilted his head and stared at me with a joyful face. Anon. Don't be mad. Candy. Your favorite. He held up the candy, and that smile was warmer and brighter than the sun. What a clean smile. Too bad. I can't see it now. That's Nathan's face. Is that my memory? Judging by the dull ache in my chest. Yes, that was our wonderful past. I was a little relieved that there was a good side to our past. It seems that it was when I was in college that I had my first love affair. Why? I don't remember. All I remember is that I got together with Nathan like I wanted to. We had a good relationship then. Really good or not. I don't know. Anyway, I remember we went to see the warm spring flowers together once. He pointed to the white roses and held my hand as the sweet scent of flowers surrounded us. I know you like white roses the most. And I like you the most. When we get married in the future, I will definitely buy you a garden full of your favorite flowers. Now it seems that these words are a bit greasy, but I remember exactly how I felt at the time. My heart almost crashed through my chest as I looked longingly at the man in front of me and hugged him tightly. What a beautiful past. Why are we greeted with such a sad future? In a trance, I saw the teenager fade away. A hand shook in front of my eyes, interrupting my memories. Looking at Emily's puzzled eyes, I still couldn't hold back and asked, I wanted to ask if your brother and I used to have a good relationship. She froze and nodded. It used to be pretty good. Then my brother started his own business. And I don't know why, but the two of you always fought. And then later on, you rarely told me about your affairs. Then does your brother have other women outside? She bit her lip and gave me a somewhat sympathetic look. I know. Luna. She has always been that kind of person. Everything wants to rob you. Used to be just our classmates. Has been thinking of my brother. I know. I just did not expect. My brother will actually really. If I know my brother is so crummy, I will not introduce you to know. But you like my brother too much. So that's how it is. She likes what I have. So she wants to snatch it away. But it also depends on whether it's something I cherish or not. Nathan. She snatched him away. And I would only thank her for letting me see this man for what he truly is. Back at the house, just as I opened the door, a rare smell of fireworks wafted in. I froze for a moment as I watched Nathan frying in the kitchen with his apron on. The image was so unfamiliar that I was pretty sure I hadn't seen this scene before or after my memory loss. Hearing the commotion, he glanced back at me. The corners of his mouth curled up in a smug smile. Admit it. You can't stay away from me. Finding that little bit of memory. I suddenly didn't have that attitude of staying out of it when I looked at him. Although, I don't know what he is so arrogant about. Originally, there was a slight softness in my heart. But his next words were like cold water poured down from the head. If you want to stay with me. He shot me a meaningful look. Just like you did in the beginning. Be good. And don't emphasize your personality unnecessarily. Watching him slowly bring out the dishes, I suddenly understood. This was the candy after the slap. I was so cheap in his eyes that I was only worth one dinner. I pulled out my chair and sat down, looking at him very seriously. Nathan, I don't love you anymore. I was sure that he could sense my firmness and sincerity, but it didn't matter whether he believed it or not. It was because I remembered so much of the good old days that I was even more disgusted with the salaciousness of the present. I went to my room, and while packing up my things and opening the door, I said towards the outside, "Your company. It seems like we started it together, but it doesn't matter. I don't need it, so let me give it to you. And as for this house, it's also for you. And there's a set within the first ring road. Give it to me." His face was hard. So hard that the air pressure in the whole room was much stronger. He sat there, staring at me dead in the face, gathering up my things. I headed out the door, relying on the information I had gathered over the days. I easily went to another house. I started sending out resumes. I wanted to live my life again. I found out that I studied design in college. My family was well off, and I grew up with a good education from my mom and dad. And I got into a heavy college entrance exam. Later, after graduating from college, I actually found a pretty good job. And as long as I worked hard, there was a lot of room for future development. However, for Nathan's sake, I seem to have given up my dream of becoming a designer and kept helping behind his back. At that time, I never seemed to think about any future. I firmly thought that having him was the future, but now I realize that I was so stupid. So stupid that I actually wanted to give my life to another person to dominate. So I'm going to get a divorce. I'm going to start over. I'm going to go out into the world again. After all, I don't seem to have any other friends besides Emily. I messaged Nathan and made an appointment. Early the next morning, I went to City Hall. When the divorce papers arrived, Nathan's face was getting ugly. In fact, to this day, I think he's a very torn man. One who makes me look away. He didn't like me. He already had a new love. Why make such a gesture? It's like how much he doesn't want a divorce. Could it be that he just likes the excitement of eating out of a bowl and looking at the pot? Out of the door, I saw the woman on his cell phone screensaver in the doorway. Luna was wearing light Pure Lust makeup, a light blue blouse and a crisp white pleated skirt, smiling and staring at me. She walks up next to Nathan and naturally takes his arm, demonstrating by raising an eyebrow and hooking her lips. Watching her lean on Nathan's shoulder like a weak willow, as delicate as a clingy vine that would falter at the drop of rain or dew. Something flashed rapidly through my mind, too fast for me to catch. Her eyes swept me clean from top to bottom, finally making a proud declaration like every victor. "You've really lost your memory. But it's good that you've lost your memory, so you don't have to feel inferior every day. After all, it's hard to be with someone you're not good enough for." There is no need to say many more words. Although Nathan is now dispensable to me, in her eyes, I'm just a loser. Any argument I made seemed like a pale and powerless resistance. I smiled at her. "I wish you all happiness." Such an easy smile seemed to sting Nathan's eyes. His expression grew more and more somber, and he even came up and tugged on my sleeve as I was leaving. His questioning tone was the same as before. "Are you that happy?" "Why wouldn't I be? I'm happy to be rid of the past and have a new life. That's something to be happy about." "That's right." He stared at me coldly until Luna, who was next to me, tugged on his sleeve and he opened the car door, slamming it shut. After a loud commotion, the car's gas pedal roared wide, stirring up dust all over the ground. The two men were gone, and I felt incredibly clean. Looking at the divorce certificate in my hand, my chest is stuffy, but I believe that it will be okay soon. At home, waiting for the resume results, I got another call from Forrest. He was over there eagerly calling out aloud, "Sister, When I rushed to the hospital, I realized that my aunt's test results were very bad. Clinical diagnosis: advanced malignant tumor, stomach cancer. In the past, I had seen my aunt's stomach pain. Her head was in cold sweat and her face was pale. When I asked her what was wrong, she gritted her teeth and didn't say anything. Later, she couldn't help herself, so she bought some painkillers and smiled cheerfully when it stopped hurting. I have this old problem. I don't need to go to the hospital. It's so expensive. I don't need to go to the hospital. It's so expensive. Just take the painkillers. So, it has been delayed until now, and it is already at an advanced stage. In the doctor's office, Forrest hangs his head and says nothing. The doctor frowned at the list and finally spread his hands. Unfortunately, the possibility of a cure in this case is almost zero. Later, the doctor said a lot. The core meaning is, instead of wasting money in the hospital to let the patient suffer, and in the end cannot get a good result, it is better to take the old man out more. See the world. Feel the rest of the life. Forrest was sitting in a chair outside, and the desperation in his eyes took my breath away a little. When Forrest was very young, his father left. Auntie brought him up all by herself. Although that village was not poor, he suffered from a mild form of autism, and his medication cost him a lot of money. Auntie was very frugal, so until now, she hasn't felt the world properly. I wanted to comfort Forrest, but my outstretched hand froze in midair. I sighed and sat quietly next to him. Not saying a word was the greatest tenderness I could give him. After a long time, he looked up with red eyes. "Sister, thank you." His heart was far stronger than I had imagined. He said he knew that everyone always goes to the other world, and there was little he could do but try to make sure she left some worthwhile memories in this world. I don't want my mom to go to the other side and forget about me. I looked at him, my eyes going hazy for a moment. We made a pact to take Auntie on a trip to Guangxi, on the lakeside of Gillen's Trench Pond, in the quaint pavilion. Amidst the scent of birds and flowers, we took our newly purchased paper and paints and spread them out on our drawing boards. In the refreshing breeze, I saw him looking at the scenery of the mountains and rivers with radiant eyes, painting the world in his heart one stroke at a time. Forrest is really talented in painting, whether it's the color combination or the overall composition. It looks more comfortable than many professionally trained people. Different colors come together but form the same mood. Forrest, you really like painting, right? In a few days, I'll bring a teacher to meet with you and teach you to paint. Would you like that? He looked at me in surprise, a little excited, so he stumbled over his words. Really? I nodded. Of course it's true. Auntie always looked at the calm lake in front of her, looking at the alternating reflections of the white clouds and the green mountains. She smiled. In this quiet and cozy atmosphere, more and more tourists crowded in. They looked at Forrest's painting and gave it a thumbs up. I don't know anything about painting, but the colors are so pleasing to the eye. You must have been studying for a long time. My son has been learning for a few years, but he's not even half as good as you are. Forrest blushed amidst all the compliments. He kept his head down, but I could see the smile at the corner of his mouth. Suddenly, from the bag he was carrying, he carefully took out a rolled-up painting and placed it in my hand, looking at me with anticipation. Sister, this, my thank you gift. I unfolded it and saw that under the setting sun, The girl's pink cheeks were softly smiling as if she was slightly intoxicated, and a pair of hazel eyes were slowly looking into the distance with clarity. It was 10 days after I fell off the cliff. At that time I was heartily in love with that beautiful mountain village, while confused for my past self. I hadn't realized that he could draw so exquisitely. Thank you. Like I said, I only have Emily as a friend, and she brings me a lot of warmth. But it's only her. Now, I have met another person who is willing to spend time to bring me happiness and tell me you are worth it with practical actions. I was really touched. He smiled a little shyly. His head bowed, and his tone was all tenderness. It's me who thanks you. Enjoying the scenery of nature. Gradually the sky became darker and darker. A few beams of sunset sprinkled on our faces, and the tourists gradually dispersed. Forrest put away his drawing board, and just as he stood up, my cell phone rang. When I opened it, it was a video call from Emily. Hello. And, where are you? My brother is all sick. Do you know? I don't know if it was just a casual mention, or if I was asked. In any case, I automatically ignored the second half of the sentence. Gillen. The scenery here is so beautiful. Next time we'll come here together. I turned on the rear camera of my cell phone. A few flying sunsets brilliantly set in half of the sky. The reddish light mapped on the lake surface, flashing with sparkling waves. She froze for a second and smiled. Have fun then. In stark contrast to her smiling face was the older brother, Nathan, who she called sick. His face was hard, and let's just say that it was almost invariably somber every time I saw him. It was as if our marriage was broken because I cheated on him in marriage, not him, with such a cozy view. I didn't want to have my excitement spoiled by him. After saying goodbye to Emily, I hung up the phone. Not only Guangxi, we also went to Yunnan and Hainan. All kinds of different scenery. We all comprehended it together. Later, the day Auntie left, she put her hand in my palm, her eyes filled with tears. Girl, Auntie never begged anyone in her life. Just this one thing. Trouble you. Forrest is a good boy. Can you help me look after him? I don't need to bother. Just call me from time to time. I promised. Auntie closed her eyes, but there was a smile on her lips. She lay there quietly, as if she had gone to a better world. Forrest watched over Auntie in her room until morning. He pushed open that door, his eyes sunken in. The teenager seemed to have aged a lot overnight. He clutched my hand, and his lusterless eyes began to sparkle again as he looked at me. Sister, you are the only family I have in this world. I said yes. I will take care of you. I still had a lot of money left over, so I had no problem paying for Forrest's education. I found a good school in the city and asked him to move in with me the day he started school. I was also rewarded with good news. My resume wasn't dropping like a stone, and a nice company threw me a bone. I entered the new company, and a lot of things were no longer comfortable for me. But I was trying my best. The very afternoon I made my first order. I called excitedly, wanting Forrest to go celebrate with me for the evening. But before the call was even dialed, Nathan appeared in front of me. He reached out and rang off my phone, pursing his lips at me. What's up? I was a little puzzled. His face was ugly. Yes. Every time. What the hell is wrong with you? It's been months. Isn't that enough? A melodrama? He thought the divorce was me making a scene? I sneered. I'm sorry. am really not making a scene. So, if it's okay, please get out of the way. It's so strange. It's so hard to get divorced. He should be making peace with Luna. Evidently. It's not Luna he likes. Of course. It's not me either. He just likes to sneak around. And an open and shut spouse is never as good in his mind as an occasional cheat. He squeezed my shoulders tightly and questioned. Could it be that you don't remember those pasts of ours either? Past? I remember a little. But it was such a beautiful picture that made me more and more disgusted with the result. Yes, our past was so beautiful. But in the end, didn't he still cheat? To bring up the past, he is the least qualified person. But his brazenness surprised me. You were the one who wanted to pester me in the first place. So why do you say you're leaving now? Song-in, you're such a heartless person. I struggled away and looked at him coldly. Before you speak, ask yourself if you are worthy. You're the one who cheated on me, not me. How do you have the nerve to brush off the nasty things you have done, and then crown yourself with the crime of blaming me? He froze and looked at me, and in response, a pair of eyes as cold as his. Avoiding him too much, I pushed him away. Can you fuck off? You're really kind of annoying. I left. In the evening, Forrest and I had a place to meet. At a roadside barbecue stand. I opened 2 beers. This one's for you. You're doing well in school. Your teacher said that you're very talented and willing to work hard. He smiled and lifted the bottle to give me a light clink. Thank you. And to celebrate my sister's good work. Tilting my head back, I took a sip of the wine that I didn't really feel like drinking. As soon as I looked up, what met my eyes was Nathan's smelly face. So you're not as innocent as you say you are. You've already got a man on the side. I was amused by him. So now you're looking for my moral failings to make yourself look decent? I looked at him with a raised eyebrow. If that's what it takes to get you off my back. Fine. Whatever. That's just the way I am. Is that enough? Can we go now? He looked so humiliated. His fists clenched as if he was going to slam them into some unknown place next. Forrest stood up and stepped in front of me. Sis, let's ignore him. I didn't want to tangle with him too much with Forrest. Forrest, let's go. I was just about to get up when Nathan's veins flared up and he snapped. Do you still want a loose face? You don't mind being dirty. Dirty? He's not dirty because he's married and keeping a woman. But I'm dirty because I'm working well and having a celebratory meal. Dirty words in my throat gnawed up and down. Just about to export. Suddenly, a heavy fist smashed in Nathan's face. That instant I even saw his face hard inward sinking. A stream of blood spurted out. Along with Forrest's powerful stern "huh. You don't deserve to talk about your sister like that." Nathan's eyes were murderous. His right hand raised high. And I wasn't sure if Forrest would be able to carry the damage. Besides, he looked back at me worriedly, not even noticing Nathan's attack, looking at the way he fought to protect me. I didn't hesitate and stepped in front of him. A loud thud exploded in my head. I couldn't even feel the pain in my head. I just felt the whole world turn upside down. I fainted, sleeping, but also very unsettled. I seemed to have remembered. Yes, I was the one who started liking Nathan first. I was young then, and he was good-looking in a fluttery sort of way. I asked for Nathan's contact information from Emily, but I didn't add him. He added me. Later, we flirted and got together logically. At that time, I really liked him. He was gentle and considerate, and he was the best boyfriend in the eyes of everyone around me. They would all look at me with envious eyes. Wow! Inan, you are so lucky to have chased such a good boyfriend. Did you chase him? I didn't chase him. He often took the initiative to ask me out. Then we got married. I quit my job and started a business with him. At that time, there were a lot of hardships along the way, and it was inevitable that we would have differences of opinion. When we argued endlessly, I would make concessions at first. However, because of his errors in judgment, many opportunities were missed. Anyway, after many failures, he began to accept my opinion. The company gradually grew, but we drifted apart. The reason was simple. He said, "I don't think you're like you used to be. What's not like before?" I know. He likes the type of woman who relies on him for everything, not a woman who outshines him at work. How can I put it? It's not just any woman he likes. What he likes is a woman's admiration and dependence on him. In the end, Luna, who had always liked him, found an opportunity to take advantage of it, and condescendingly stole him from me. And the man who held bouquets of flowers and candies saying he liked me never came home again. I spent my days guarding the cold, huge room, touching the edge of the cold bed, shedding tears, and expecting to hear from him at 3 a.m. How sad. I never want to be that sad again. When they woke up again, Forrest and Nathan looked exhausted. Both had swollen faces on top of each other and were still wrestling. I looked at Nathan, who was closing his eyes and letting out ragged gasps. I remember. He suddenly opens his eyes and looks at me begging and laughs maniacally again. You finally remembered. And you remembered how much you used to love me, didn't you? I sneered. I remember. It was Luna who pushed me off the cliff. Call the police. That day, she asked me to meet her, saying she had something to tell me about Nathan. At that time, I really liked Nathan, so I went to the appointment without even thinking. As a result, what was waiting for me there was a pair of vicious hands that pushed me down without hesitation. Luna has always shown a soft and kind side in front of him. He probably didn't expect that the doddering girl had such a poisonous heart. He looked at me incredulously, his eyes darting. He was probably thinking about her and Luna's little moments, and he was probably looking for a reason to convince himself. But that's not my concern anymore. Luna's too greedy. Already got Nathan. And it's not enough. She wants me dead. I wasn't a saintly mother. I went straight to the police station. I really didn't push her. Why would I push her? Nathan, you have to believe me. Luna was brought in, crying pitifully and sadly, and she tried to hide in Nathan's arms, but the latter's skeptical eyes seemed to have convicted her. And Nathan ducked a step, and she pounced. She looked at Nathan in amazement and burst into even more tears. The police seriously warned her to cooperate and not to cry. Finally, after a professional interrogation, she beckoned and told the whole story. I just hate her. Why? She's obviously so ordinary. Why can't she be with Nathan? She doesn't deserve it at all. Later, she broke down emotionally and cried her eyes out in the interrogation room. Nathan walked away with a black face. If the circumstances are true, this is attempted intentional homicide. At least life imprisonment. After getting an affirmative answer from the police, I left as well. In front of the police station, I saw Forrest, who was full of worry. He ran over and embraced me tightly into his arms, the familiar scent of date palms giving me a warm feeling. Sister, are you okay? I'm fine. He took me to the hospital. After the doctor examined me, he said that there was no major problem, and that getting my memory back was a blessing in disguise. It's just a trauma that needs some time to recuperate. I went home to recover. Nathan came to see me again. He stood at the door, and as soon as he opened it, he couldn't help but look inside. I looked at him mockingly. Don't look. I do live with him. But we're not in the nasty relationship you think we are. And he's not home right now. So, what do you want? If I had known it was him, I wouldn't have opened the door. But he obviously didn't have that realization. He smiled awkwardly, his old coldness gone. I'm sorry. And I really didn't think it would turn out like this. I raised my eyebrows. What kind? He lowered his head in embarrassment and sighed. I thought you were faking your memory loss. I thought you just wanted to act out, make a scene, and lose your temper like before. But I didn't realize it was real. I frowned. So? His eyes became cautious. Just like that year under the cherry blossom tree. That sincere and gentle teenager. I didn't think you had a real brush with death. I didn't think any of that was real. I didn't know she'd do that to you. I didn't know you'd suffered so much injustice. It doesn't matter, I said faintly. I don't care anymore. Just like you didn't care about me before. I don't care at all. In the old days, I would have felt a mixture of joy and sorrow at his attitude. But now, it's all the same. His eyes were moist with guilt. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. It's all my fault. I don't blame you. I smiled. This time, a pure, clean smile. I told you. We're done. I'm willing to forget all the bad things about you. And of course, I'll forget all the good things about you. We'll leave it at that. And never see each other again. I said, I really don't love you anymore. I don't want to lie to you. Moreover, I don't want to lie to myself. You know, under the cherry blossom tree that year, that teenager who was brighter and more vigorous than the sunshine is stuck in my memory forever. And the person standing in front of me now is not that boy. It was the selfish and indifferent Nathan. He looked at me with despair in his eyes. After a long moment, he smiled easily. Sorry. Bye. He left. Nathan was gone from my life. I sat on the balcony, pruning the extra flower branches. The faint scent of gardenias greeted me, and I heard someone behind me calling my name softly. When I turned around, Forrest was smiling at me. His bright and colorful smile was enough to melt the cold ice of winter. He held up the painting he had just done, on which was my portrait, warm sun, gardenias, and me and him, and a full article.